name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to a special edition of Real Men, Real Talk Raw. This evening, I am excited. It is by the way, it is Wednesday evening, coming up at about 6:45. I apologize. We were hoping to be live at about 6:15. Had some technical difficulties, not on our end. It was on the end of Be Live, which is the company that handles our studio and handles our show, our feed for us. And so it looks like they got their issues straightened out, and we are live this evening. I am so excited to have a special guest on. His name is HOBIE Cunningham. HOBIE, welcome to the show this evening.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me on. What
I'd like to do, just take a moment here, HOBIE, and just give a quick bio on you, and then we'll go from there. HOBIE's bio is as follows. He says his story begins at age 6. My dad wanting to become a Jehovah Witness, how this forever altered my reality. The horrors of brainwashing and belief systems, how I left the religion to join the military, struggles of finding myself in this world, having a child, all the obstacles since then, and the impact of 2 tumors on my marriage, career, and overall life. And so before we jump into you expanding on sharing your story with myself and all that are joined us in the community, I would like to just take a moment here to welcome those that have joined us live in the studio. I want to so much thank you for being patient as we waited for Be Live to straighten out their challenges. And I'd like to welcome a few that have joined us tonight. Deborah coming in from Payson, Arizona. Dharam Patel coming in from New Delhi, India, one of my close Facebook friends today, who checks in with me every single day. Good morning, and a good evening. Wanu Nam coming in. If you could be so kind and let me know where you're coming in from live. Anita, good to see you. Brett Lahi, thank you so much for joining me. Mary Lou, Brett Williams is coming in, I believe, from Bali. And we have Deb, my co-host on Real People, Real Stories Raw. She's coming in from Canada. And not sure who else we have live with us, but I want to thank you for joining us this evening and being patient as we got a late start, not because we were tardy, but because sometimes we're going to face some challenges like technical difficulties. And it's not how we react, but it's how we respond that really allows us to kind of walk through the challenges. And so we're here, we're live, and I'm excited to, in fact, have HOBIE on the live with us this evening. I want to just make sure that we're pushing it out to all the people that I'd like to be with us. So HOBIE, I'm just tagging you on it, and a few others, and then we'll get going here. I'm going to give you a moment here just to take a nice deep breath, HOBIE, and then I'm going to invite you to begin the journey. I'm going to invite all of you that are watching with us to buckle up your seatbelt, because you're about to hear, I think, quite an amazing story with HOBIE and myself. And so, HOBIE, again, welcome to the show this evening. It is a special edition. We usually come on Friday nights, but when we spoke a couple of days ago, we met through a friend of ours, Deb, who actually happens to be my co-host. I learned a lot more about your personal life, and we also learned that another person connection that we have is, in fact, Jessica Alstrom, who was on my show a week or so ago on last Saturday, I believe. So in any event, welcome, and I'm just going to invite you to basically just share where you want to begin, and let's get this show going.
All right, sounds good. Well, my name's HOBIE Cunningham, born and raised in a town about 50 miles southwest of New Orleans, Houma, Louisiana. I was born in 1985. Got my name from a T-shirt my dad wore all in the 80s, Hobie Cat Surf Company. So it's kind of befitting being a Pisces and everything. Definitely a beach bum. I was baptized Catholic. Family's all Catholic. When I was 6 years old, my father, who would have been 25 at the time, was having a crossroads in his life, searching for his own personal truth. and some neighbors moved across the street, and they happened to be Jehovah Witnesses. So my dad started studying with them at the time. I know being a kid, there's a lot of talking and stuff going on in the family and stuff, but I'm a kid. I don't know anything about this at the time, but I know I started going to the Kingdom Halls with my father. It's a crazy time as a child to, to have two close-knit families. You're celebrating your birthdays, your holidays and everything, and to have everything taken away from you. You don't understand that concept. Everything that you thought was normal and that you were just routine with, has been taken away for some other pronounced reason that doesn't sit well with a child's mind. I do have a younger sibling too. My sister, she's 4 years younger than me, Stacy, so we both, her at a very young age and me at 6, we got a new altered reality in our life. Going to school and everything was definitely a challenge. Being the outcast, the one that can't celebrate anything, can't do anything, that took a toll on my psyche, as a kid growing up. Felt, kind of an outcast in the religion, in the congregations we called them, because I wasn't born a Jehovah Witness, so I was kind of like outside the clique too. So there was like this double not fitting in type deal going on at a very young age. At this time too, I've suffered with anxiety, very ADHD, high functioning mind. I'm all over the place and nowhere at the same time. Had my challenges in the school with that too. I was a pretty intelligent student, A and B, honor roll, but conduct definitely didn't reflect because I wasn't stimulated enough. So I'd finish my work quickly, always done first, talking, cutting up, doing stuff like that of the nature. But going through school and everything, the stresses of everything from being in something that just didn't feel right or sit right with me. And then the punishment I felt of going through school and everything I started having another issue in my life that most people didn't know about. And it's the first time talking about it was like sleep paralysis. All through my young teenage years until older teenager, I couldn't comprehend what was going on, but I would have these, like right when morning time was hitting, that I was being strangled or held down by something that I couldn't comprehend. You're not seeing anything, but you can't scream, you can't move, you can't do nothing. And this started happening for periodically off and on for years. I used to sleepwalk a lot when I was a child. Through my teenage years too, I would find myself waking up in the middle of the night with all the lights on in my room for no unexplained reason. Being raised in, that religion, more occult, the brainwashing of fear mechanisms, my high functioning mind is always trying to have a valid or logical explanation for things. So I wouldn't let my mind veer off into fear of, a supernatural or anything. It was just fear induced of just doing wrong or not doing wrong. That it was more psychological than anything, but I didn't have anybody to open up or talk to about it. And so I just kept it inside and kept tolerating and dealing with all this stuff for years. Of course, it plays a serious role in your ability to function in life, especially when you're 18, you're just finishing high school. As a Jehovah Witness, you got no game plan, and you're going out into a world with all these strange dysfunctions and stuff, and it's a whole different world out there that you have no clue about, and it definitely takes a toll. I wanted to leave the religion at that time, but it was hard because that once you've been baptized, you get shunned for making that choice. And so I did something stupid. I got married at a very young age and tried one more, hoorah with the religion, but that didn't sit well with me at all. That marriage, folded quickly, and I made a very impulsive decision from a little postcard that came in the mail one day. It was join the Navy. I was like, sure, why not? So I called the recruiting station and I got that up and going, very quickly, and left. This was in 2006 of June. I left for Great Lakes to go to boot camp and joined up as a reservist. I was trying to run away from the state of Louisiana. I wanted to go active duty. That didn't work out, the quite the way I wanted it, but that's where my journey began, was going from leaving a cult to jumping straight into the military. So it was a stripping down of essence and everything to kind of, relieve all that pressure, that burden that I had growing up. If that was one powerful alternative I can do, that's what I did. So I went and joined the military. From that point, I came back home. Since I was being a reservist, some crazy stuff took place when I was checking into my duty station, and they lost me in the system for a few months. And I'm over there, family members, recruiter, everybody's trying to figure out what the hell's going on at the time. I finally got that situated and started drilling, but I needed structure. I was still in this lost state of not knowing what the hell I was doing, where I was going. I was begging active duty, send me somewhere. I need a routine. Things were great when I was in boot camp and A school. That structure worked amazing for me. I needed that. And, things didn't quite work out after 2 years with the military. I ended up getting out of there and started a brand new journey of discovering myself, and started picking up a trade from my grandpa that's been an electrician his whole life. Started doing that. Then this is around 2009. That's when I met my daughter's mother, and we started dating. And I ended up going into the oil field because of her dad, and that was a really powerful experience, and I guess some stability in my life during that time was this camaraderie that kind of reminded me of the military. I got to work with the same group of guys for years. I mean, they became family, extended family, closer than blood. It was quite an experience. During my time in the oil field is when I started having some health issues start popping up. Started having a lot of fatigue issues that I couldn't explain. I'm only 25, 26 at the time. So I go to my doctor, and she discovers, after doing blood work on my testosterone levels, that they were excruciating low. As a young male and stuff, it definitely had an impact at the time on my marriage. But I was doing my medication, kind of getting it up a little bit, but not enough that the doctor could see what is stopping me from having a hormone replacement to increase my testosterone. During this period of time, I started having nosebleeds. I used to have those a lot when I was a kid. It popped up again. And also during that time, it was these migraines. These were interesting. This is where I knew something was really up. I started getting these neck pains in the back of my head. They were excruciating. And it would send sharp pains all throughout my skull. It was really debilitating. But I didn't want to miss out on money and work, and I kept working through it until the point of I started losing vision in my right eye. Things started getting blurry. I said, okay, something's up with this. I definitely need to stop being stubborn and tell my doctor everything that's going on at this one time. So I went to see my family doctor, and when I told her all this, she's like, no, you need an MRI, like ASAP. We need to schedule that and see what's going on. So I went into my first MRI. That was interesting. I was finding out I was claustrophobic for the first time. It took 2 tries to do that. But after they got the scans back, that's when they discovered I had a 2.5 by 2 centimeter mass in my pituitary gland. And it was causing havoc on my, your pituitary gland is your hormone, your master gland. Your hormone controls everything in your body. So it was wreaking havoc on my entire system, my endocrine system. So after having that discussed with my doctor, they referred me to a hospital in New Orleans with this neurosurgeon, Dr. Frank Colicchia. He does amazing work. And so we got the process started with that. This is September 2014. And, a lot of people were really nervous for me and stuff. I'm not gonna say that I wasn't nervous, but I'm just one of those, like, I know it's there. It's time to get it out. Let's just roll with it. Let's get it done. At this time, though, I had already was getting back into a routine of, mind over matter, power of your thoughts, just being calm with everything, knowing that everything's going to be all right. Because I've always stated, I trust the process, trust in the universe to always deliver. It gives me whatever strength, energy, and healing. And so I went through the surgery and I came out of it. It was a textbook surgery. My vision miraculously came back as soon as the tumor was removed. My vitals looked pretty good. I healed up really quick. I was in and out the hospital in 4 days. My healing, my recovery at home was pretty rapid. I remember within about 6 weeks into recovery, I was starting to get really bored, was laying in bed playing video games, and started lightly lifting weights, and started lifting a little bit more and more. And I was ready to go back to work. Neurosurgeon was a little skeptical about that, but he said, if you know your body, if you feel like you're ready, just take it easy. And that's when I ended up going back to work. I guess 8 weeks later after surgery, after brain surgery, I was back in the oil field. But I only ended up catching like 2 jobs during that period of time. That's when I was discussing with you earlier that 2014 was the dip, in the oil field. And so mass layoffs had already started. So I made it through several cuts of that until February 2015. It was Friday the 13th. And my wife at the time was bringing me to work. And I just made a smart comment about it being Friday the 13th. And she said, don't say that. And she had to come pick me back up from work. So I had lost my job from that, So that was a rough period of time, being used to set pay, making good money, having little toys, having a little, leisure activity. You got your daughter that's only 2 years old, 3 years old at the time and stuff. And had to make some drastic decisions. Things just didn't work out quite the way you wanted in life. But I've just learned to accept these things. My entire life has been, just battles with lessons, things that have taught me so much, just trying to discover who you are when you start looking back on past situations, but then how much of your life you're living through these past circumstances and reliving this tale over and over in your head. Once me and the wife had split 3 years ago, is really how much I got to start seeing for myself, start learning things and adapting, learning things I should have learned a lot sooner in life, but I was okay with taking the failures and seeing them as stepping stones. The last 3 years have been, very amplified for the spiritual growth that I've been on, something that was stepping into my authenticity, swallowing pride, cutting people out of your life that doesn't need to be in your life, and really start to experience a lot of powerful growth of lessons the universe starts bringing on you. People that do come into your life for certain reasons, on a soul level, that's really intense.
I'm going to invite you just to take a moment here, just to take a break, and just take a nice deep breath and let it out. I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge you being here tonight. Hobie, I know this is the first time that you've been invited to do a live stream Facebook show, and I wanted to honor you and acknowledge you for showing up tonight. I know that I know how I feel before I start each show, and I've been doing this for almost just under a year now. And so for you to come on and open up and share your journey, your life story with me and those that are watching us live and on replay means so much to me. And I just want to honor you in this moment and just thank you.
Well, thank you, Jay. It means a lot to me.
I appreciate you for being willing and being so excited to come on and share your story with us. I also would like to ask you to share in this moment, how does it feel? How are you feeling right now? As you kind of went you went way back to your early childhood, to when you probably first had the awareness that life wasn't turning out exactly as a 6-year-old young boy thought it was going to. And things changed pretty quickly when your dad decided to change religions. and go into the Jehovah's Witness religion. And so from there forward, you shared a lot of your story. And I'm just like to hear from you right now. How do you feel in this moment right now? Sharing this part of your life.
It feels good to be able to do it without any energetic pain attached to it no more. I feel like when I reached out to you, I knew at that moment it was time to finally do it because I've healed from it, you know, so I don't have to relive these stories. I know it's torture to talk about. It's to show everybody that no matter what you've been through, to release it on paper or to vocally speak on it, it's powerful. It's very powerful healing mechanism, you know, and I got that beautiful start to it, you know, just 2 months prior when Jessica Alstrom, you know, messaged me to write her story, to write my story to her. And that was the first that kind of like got me geared up. I was like, oh, here we go, you know, and I got it done and it healed me rapidly from there. And so I knew when I was ready to come, you know, message you and get on the show that it was time to do it, where it's just, you know, speaking on it through love. You know, this is not about bashing or nothing like that. This is just my journey that I've been on, my soul's contract to understand, you know, that all these lessons were playing a very critical life lesson and pivotal moment in my purpose that's becoming abundantly clear now.
Thank you. I would like to take a moment to just acknowledge a few people that have joined on since we started the live. I'd like to thank my sister Sharon Lipman coming in from Long Island, New York. Thank you for joining us this evening. Frank Lyford, who's I believe he's part of Jessica Alstrom's team. He's actually going to be my guest on Real Men Real Talk Raw on our normal Friday evening edition, our usual Friday evening edition. Not that this is not normal. This is just a special edition. Peter Johnson, Alexander Bauer coming in from Scottsdale, Arizona, one of our beautiful friends and neighbors. Marcy, thank you for joining us. Gina Palazzo, thank you for joining us. Sue Azario, thank you for checking in with us. Linka, thank you for joining us. My mom, Arlene Rothman, coming in from Boynton Beach, Florida. Nancy Helsinki. Gerhard von Tonda is coming in from South Africa. Gerhard, thank you so much for joining us on this live stream tonight. Judith, also thanks for being here. And of course, we have probably one of the biggest fans in your life, and a woman that I have such respect for and such love for. Debbie is with us live this evening. She is so excited to be here. And, you know, Debbie introduced the two of us together. I didn't look at the date. I don't recall how far back it was, but she put us together, and we had a very brief PM conversation, very brief. And then we never circled back together until earlier this week. You basically, on a random moment, you just basically cold called me, meaning that not that you were soliciting anything, but you sent me a private message through Messenger, and you were just like, hey, how you doing? You just checked in. And so I was like, okay, like, why are you reaching out to me now? Like, what's going on? What's on your mind? And if I recall correctly, I video chatted you. I reached out to you through a video chat, and we had a beautiful conversation. And at some point I asked you the questions, why are you reaching out to me now? And you said, because I'm ready to come on your show and share my story. And you know that,
when you get those call-ins, you get those call-ins. You just do it. I don't think about it, just do it.
I presume that you and Debbie had probably had some conversation that day, or shortly prior, that was very much somewhat motivational for you.
Oh yes.
And perhaps you guys talked about it, and you said, "Okay, I'm ready." Is that what transpired?
Yeah. Because when I opened up to her, it was a pretty big day for both of us, and just things that we were reeling through over the weekend. But I had so much excitement, and she's like, "You need to reach out to Jay." And I was like, "Okay," and I immediately messaged you. it was just right there in that moment. I knew it was time because after the little test I passed over the weekend and everything, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm good.
I'd like to ask you if you could expand a little bit about what transpired for you this weekend that kind of lit you up. That was another, let's say, a level of spiritual awakening for you. If you're willing to share any part of that, or what transpired for you, and what was the lesson and growth that was behind that?
In my life, with the synchronicities and the things that happen so spontaneously, there's people that come and go out of my life pretty instantaneously too. It seems like they leave a mark or I leave a mark, and it's going through this journey in the past, these individuals that come in and out of my life, it always triggered something that I still needed to heal from, and that was abandonment issues. So it took me a while to start acknowledging certain behavior patterns of myself, and it was presented again, but it was like such a relief to say that to yourself that, wow, this is not what it is. That was a quick little tango, and you see what it was meant to do for you, and hopefully it has the same impact on them. And then to see somebody just, flourish after, one little week's time, it's beautiful. It's a whole different avenue of always thinking the worst of situations, or what did I do wrong, or what could I have changed in that situation. It's like none of that existed this time. It was, okay. I got over a hump of that abandonment trigger. And that's, or attachment, that was the word that I used with you, is being attached, getting attached to things that just seem or feel good, but it's what's the deeper life lesson you learn from all these circumstances. And I was just so excited to share that with Debbie. It felt so good because it's always in the back of your head. When you start to acknowledge your things, when you start to acknowledge your behaviors, your ego, or whatever it may be, you can stop it in its tracks and be like, hey, no, not this time. You're not going to do that. Don't let your thoughts go to that place. And so when you start telling it that, your subconscious mind, you're just starting to, every day to me is reprogramming all those. It was big triggers. I got them all the way down to small triggers, and then acknowledging every little thing as much as I possibly can. It's brought a lot of peace to me, even with everything I'm still going through at the moment right now. It's like just okay, next, everything's going to be all right.
Were you able to go back and really connect the dots as to where the root cause of your abandonment issues are?
Yeah,
and where it began?
That started immediately after I knew, once I left the religion, the organization, my parents had no choice but to shun me. That is protocol. They have to shun me. But I mean, I go way before that anyway, because I felt abandoned from my parents at such a young age, to take away all the things that made me as a child, or, normal to the rest of the world. I felt so abandoned there because it was like a cry out for help. But what do you tell them? I mean, your parents are trying to do what's right. I don't blame them for anything either. They're just trying to be good parents. But the circumstances, especially me at a young age, I was highly inquisitive. I knew something was up. I thought so much differently. So I'm like, this stuff just doesn't add up to me at all. I'm all about love and loving each other and your family and all that. And that wasn't being practiced. And I'm like, that doesn't sit well, So, but then my parents popped back up when Olivia, my daughter, was born in 2012. And that was a great first 4 years. It was crazy that they came back into all of our lives. And, she got to have her Gigi and P-Pop. But then the religion, I guess, clamped back down on association with, former members, so they checked out again. And not just me, but, Olivia too, was a product of that shunning, unfortunately.
How do you feel right now to even express this live for you? Where are you at in the process?
It's what's healed me so fast to even talk about it again. It's one that I've gotten over it. It was more my daughter in that aspect that would still kind of like ref something in me, but that's the choice they made. And teaching my daughter, that everybody makes their own choices and stuff. It's not personal, and it's definitely not directed at you. They love you deeply, but I've made peace with everything, and I send everybody off with love. Whatever truth is in, this awakening for everybody, I hope it it gets to them sooner rather than later. But I've made my peace so I don't trigger anything prematurely with them as much as I wanted to. And I've made people nervous about reaching out to them. So it is what it is. They popped up. They took me to the second surgery, for the second brain tumor. That was amazing. They reached out and asked if it was okay. I love that feeling, and they brought me back home, and then they left immediately after. So it was right back to the same thing. So it's almost like I'd rather not have it than get a taste of it to have it just pulled back again. So a lot of that in and out of my life, that definitely was a lot of triggers for the whole abandonment stuff.
Wow. There's so many different directions I can go in right now, and I'm really just going to take a moment here just to pause. No child deserves to be treated that way by a parent. And I think that one of the things I heard you say directly or indirectly is when you said it is what it is that is a term that in the American society, at least North America, is used very often and quite loosely. And I want to expand on that for a moment, because when we say those words, are we saying them from a protective shield, a protective armor perspective that we think is helping us get through these tremendous deep hurt feelings between yourself and your mom and dad? Or is there a deeper meaning behind those words? And for me, the deeper meaning is one word, which is acceptance. If we're just using those words loosely because that's what we're taught to do, and there's no deeper meaning behind it, which is, for me, is acceptance, then it's actually hurting you and it's not serving you well. But when you're able to truly do the work and really come to terms with what is, at least for today, that falls under acceptance. And for me, acceptance is that we have no control over other people, places, and things, and choices, as you said, that they have chosen to make and continue to make. The only place that you have choices is over your own life. You have no control over any decisions that other people make. As hurtful and as impactful as it has been for you, Hobie, ultimately, these are decisions that your parents are going to have to live with, and whatever time they have left on Earth this time around. But ultimately, I think what's going to be really important for you is the healing process for yourself. And I think this is a great opportunity, even after the show tonight, to really hone in and just check in with yourself and see if you're just using those words to just kind of dismiss their actions, or behind it is there any acceptance? Because this is what I know, is that as long as we hold on to that pain that our parents have caused us when they choose to exit out, due to religious reasons, as you've described here, the impact that it has on your life is profound, whether it's conscious or subconscious. What you're dealing with is living in somewhat form of bondage. And that's, as you've described, many of your relationships have not gone so well. People come in and out of your life pretty rapidly as it relates to even the dating game right now, post divorce, as you shared with me prior. And I think that once we're able to do the work and heal the wounds and walk through the healing process of the abandonment at your root core, you're going to be able to shift from living in bondage of that to living in freedom. And that freedom is what's going to change all of your relationships moving forward. And it may even give you the freedom to release the disease that you've been challenged with for the past 4 years. The return of a tumor now that's in your brain that was partially removed right around between Christmas and New Year's, if I recollect.
Mm-hmm.
And just take a moment here, just if you can, to maybe just respond to some of what I've just shared with you, and how does this resonate with you right now?
The touching back on the thing that stood out the most, like the hope is what it is. That right there was definitely a reflection of acceptance and making peace. Making peace that with everything else that's going on in my life right now, I've made peace with a lot of things that are out of my control. I've always had a tenacity to want to control everything around me. And the more I let go of things, no matter how crazy these obstacles that seem to come flying out of thin air, releasing all of that has been extremely healthy. So on that spectrum of things, during this period of letting go of everything, just in November, that's when I started having those signature headaches again. And I was really curious. I'm like, why am I getting this? I'm practicing all these things. There's no way I'm going through it again. It was a very, very, very stressful week of my life when I did have those headaches. So at first it's like, okay, it's maybe stress related, it's anxiety related. It was debilitating again. And I knew, and, so after going to the doctor, and of course, finding out on, the blood work and the CT scan didn't discover anything, but I knew right then and there it was the tumor. They did the MRI, December 6th. And of course, this one was much bigger than the first one. But I didn't lose no vision. I lost a lot of weight in the months of November and December. People were making comments, you can see it in my face. I had lost 22 pounds in 8 weeks. That was a lot for me. I was just already stressed out. I had just enrolled and put myself in college at 33 years of age. So there was a lot going on in November, December. And then, of course, having the surgery done this second go round. It's the last time I can have this surgery done. The tumor had formed around my carotid arteries and the pituitary gland. So they removed as much as they could from it. After surgery, the migraines persisted. They were pretty intense, and I saw a very slippery slope of the medications that they were providing me, to try to take this pain away. I didn't want nothing of, because I definitely believe in holistic way of life. And one of the things, honestly, that has saved me, and the doctors got to see firsthand, is when they did all my blood work, they asked, what are you doing? You still using treatments from your first surgery? I said, no, I don't really believe in medications. But cannabis had been an alternative for me, and my entire endocrine system was completely balanced because of it. And I was proud of that. Now, of course, it didn't take away the migraines, but it kept my body where it needed to be because this tumor was so much bigger and came back much more aggressively than the first one. So, it was another test of my resolve and my will, of on top of everything that's going on in your life, it seems like you can't just lift your head up for, a breath of air and you're getting slammed again. But I knew that I was going to go into surgery. I was going to be right out of it quickly as possible. And I sure did. I was taking selfies after the surgery in the hospital that evening, and they released me from ICU 2 days later. So I preach and I preach and I preach about the mind, how powerful it is. And, as long as I know that I'm okay, if I was able to go through there and heal so fast, then I can pretty much wish this tumor away if I wanted to. And I do believe that.
I want to acknowledge a few people that have joined us in this moment as I invite you to take a moment to maybe grab a little bit of a drink. There you go. Take a moment just to breathe. I want to welcome Greg and Susan Jewell, who is a neighbor of ours in the community. Thank you for joining us this evening, Greg. And Susan Karen Cox, thank you for being with us. Jessica Alstrom is with us. Jessica is in the house. She has shown up in support, Hobie. You just got to love that. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us in this moment. Susan DeBosi, thank you. Suzanne DeBosi, I apologize. Thank you for joining us. Ranmutha, thank you for being here. Preti Patel, John Harrison, Judith Gozon, thank you for joining us. And if you hear something that you like or love, with love, gently press your love or like button. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them. And after the show, Hobie, I'll invite you to take some time, and then when you feel you're ready to respond to some of these questions, if you could come back in through Facebook and you can reply to the questions or comments, please do so. When you're up to it, when you have some time. But I'd like to acknowledge those that have joined us on this live this evening. I appreciate you so much for supporting the show and supporting Hobie as he has shared his story of his life, his path, and his journey that he's been on, and he continues to navigate through. And the purpose of this show is to invite men, primarily men and some women, to come on the show and share their journey, their backstory, and hopefully have some inspiration to share with us, some intuition and some wisdom that they have gained along their healing process of their own mind, body, and soul. And hopefully be able to inspire perhaps one or more individuals that watch the show live or on replay, that inspires them to have the courage to make changes in their own life, to improve their life in whatever area they are in pain or suffering with wounds, traumas, hurts, and guilt, shame, blame, anger, resentment, or regrets. And so that's the purpose of the show, and that's why we're here tonight. And part of the purpose also is that what we find is that when people like yourself, Hobie, come on and come into the studio and open up and share your story as you are in a very, very authentic, vulnerable way this evening, it actually is very helpful for the guest when they exit out after the show to continue in what I'd say a much more let's say hypervigilant way in the healing process. We see a tremendous growth take place with so many of our guests that come through the studio and have the courage and to step in and step out and then step back in and share their truth. And so again, I thank you and honor you for stepping in this evening. With what time we do have left, we've got about 15 minutes or so. We can go over if we need to, as long as you have the time. I'd like for you to just share a little bit about from stepping back before. I want to spend definitely some time on where you're at today in the process of dealing with your medical diagnosis and prognosis. Mm-hmm. But before we go there, Hobie, I would like to ask you, if you're willing to share, where are you at in your healing process and journey as it relates to your abandonment issues, and just in general, where are you as far as your own emotional and mental state? We know where you're at from a physical perspective, but where are you at in those other parts of what I refer to as the four pillars? For me, the four pillars are: we have the emotional, the mental, the physical, and of course the spiritual. And I also want to touch briefly on the spiritual part, the spiritual component for you as well.
Well, last year definitely was the rattling of cages and the universe saying it was time for your growth. And I do believe that sat true with a lot of people for the year 2018. After another, obstacle that happened at the end of 2017, I had a quick brush with, good luck, manifestations happening for me beginning of last year, and I got into a pretty serious relationship. Got to move to New Orleans, be in my city that has my heart, living in the French Quarter. It was almost like fairy tale. Everything was going right. You can almost say that it was like a soulmate type of relationship until a certain term popped up that I wasn't too aware of and did homework on. And that was a twin flame relationship. And that was my dark dark night soul, a purge of all purges I experienced, from the highs of highs to the lows of lows of I've never experienced in my life. But it immediately brought me pretty far into the spiritual realm of things, of really starting to tie in together, people that were really deep into the yoga, meditation, crystals, sound frequency healing, all these modalities, I started really opened my mind and started delving into. But that relationship was one that definitely opened me to me. There's anything I could take from that relationship was with a twin flame is like the mirrors being held to your face of who you are. Everything you had just manifested, was it right for you? This was all for you to get the wrong treatment, but at the wrong person, or you weren't ready for it. It was a lot that happened in a very short period of time that woke me up to a lot of things that I had been slowly healing, but I think it was just more, all these band-aids were starting to get ripped off, and when they were all ripped off, I was fully exposed last year to self, falling to your knees, being stripped naked, completely vulnerable. I went through multiple obstacles last year that were honestly 12 years worth was compacted into 12 months. But test me as much as it could try to break me, but I've hit some low points last year, but it was my spiritual willpower. I felt like, at the end of the day, it's like a slingshot that's being pulled back, and I'm getting frustrated. But once it lets go, that's the only feeling I have in me right now, is to know that abundance, that reward for everything I've been through is right there. Because the thing that's kept me stable, because I'm really ADHD, I've had issues with substances in the past, and just anything to cope, Thankfully I was never addicted to anything, but just anything to try to take my mind. But once I started, I think it was a second after my wife and I had split, was starting to dabble in wanting to be an entrepreneur, really knowing that my personality suited a certain field of things. I was very creative. Got a wild idea to start buying up a bunch of domain names and websites, and it turned into support and activism for the cannabis and hemp industry. Created a couple of brands, started doing photography for therapy. That turned into another brand. I got a pen and paper, and I started going crazy, writing things down, and it's like the universe is finally like saying, look, all those obstacles I kept throwing at you was to keep you in this one particular lane, because you wouldn't listen to me otherwise. So I'd slap you upside the head with another obstacle, and to be where I'm at right now, in this place of what people would call lack, is the most freeing place for me right now. To go such a long time without money, and then to go without a car multiple times, and then not have a job, and then all these things are happening. And I'm like, hey, look what I do in a 24-hour period of day. I'm so proud to just tackle anything and everything, just something that's beneficial to my spiritual growth, and then I tie it into now becoming, a business of myself, promoting myself, and seeing my worth and value through this forest that I've been trekking through. Finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel. It's all coming together. And meeting people such as yourself and Debbie and Jessica. It's been a fortress of divinely guided entities, that couldn't have come at a better time in my life.
Well, you definitely have a lot of positive energy about you. And not only am I listening to you, but I'm watching your body move with your words. And you're just a powerhouse of positive energy. Where do you think you get that from?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, the person that really I resonate with, my grandpa. My grandpa is just, no matter what goes wrong, he's just so at ease. Like, it is what it is, but in the sense that it's a stress-free, no worries type of, phrase and mentality, and I'm glad I have that balance, even with the anxieties and everything I've suffered with. To be a negative person, that's not my forte. I can be in the most horrific situation, I'm still cutting up laughing, that's been my happy medium. You know, that's what's kept me off going the deep end. You know, between having my daughter and in this place that I find myself within, that I can find some kind of amusement to pick me up and just keep on going. Like that phrase, you know, you can't kill bad grass. That's how I feel.
I love your smile. When you smile, you just light up. It's just a beautiful, beautiful smile.
Thank you.
And I don't know how often you smile or not, but
not enough people fuss me.
What's that?
I said not enough people fuss me, especially on my pictures. Like, smile. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think you do know.
Yeah. Tonight, definitely.
I think there's an opportunity. You know, I think that therein lies just a signpost that perhaps maybe there is just some more work that you can do. You know, we're never done. We're never done learning.
That's right.
We're never done growing. I think when we think we're done, we're dying. But you know, when you smile, it's so hard for me not to smile back at you. I just love that about you, and I really want to see you smile a whole lot more. I know that, you know, for me, it took having to basically surrender in every aspect of my life to be willing to heal my own mind, body, and soul, to do all the work, whatever it took to begin the healing process. Because until we uncover, and some people refer to it, I think Nancy was a guest on the show last Sunday on the other show that Debbie and I did together, referred to it as, you know, the peeling back of the layers of the onion. That's typically a 12-step slogan or tagline, but it's so true. You know, just when we think that we've hit on something big, there's always something bigger right around the corner.
That's right.
And I think what's important is how much we're willing to embrace the idea that behind each moment of pain and even trauma, if we look at it from a growth perspective and learning perspective, then we learn what we need to learn, and then we can let it go, and we could move on, and then we're not going to have to repeat it. And you know, I'm going to speak my truth right here, right now to you, HOBIE, is that there is clearly a reason why your tumor has come back a second time, much more aggressive than the first time. And I think that it's so important for you to really be willing to consider total surrender, because you haven't shared what your prognosis is, or if the doctors gave you one. Did they give you one, by the way?
Yeah, thankfully there's never been a malignant pituitary tumor, you know, so no cancer at all. It's just they have to see how to treat it now going forward, since it's wrapped around my carotid, you know, so that can't be removed. So that's where,
okay,
you know, figuring out after this next ENT appointment, when they run the camera up, you know, they've talked about possible radiation, or I'm not sure what other alternatives. So that's where, you know, me shifting gears earlier when I talked to you previous, you know, about how much doing the highly alkalized water and diet means to me to start, you know, stunning its growth, and hopefully just knock it out completely. I would love to see in 3 months when I go in May for my MRI that they freak out and see there's nothing there. That would be top. So
that would be beautiful.
That's
you know, the other day when we spoke by video, I asked you if you would be receptive to me sending you a link to one of the shows I did in late summer with Dwayne Orlando Hill, who happens to be my spiritual mentor, and he came on to the show to share his story of healing from prostate cancer. And you graciously accepted my offer, and I believe you watched the show on replay this week. What were some of your takeaways from what you heard?
it's very heartwarming to hear other stories of people that take their health so seriously that you could sidestep, doctors saying, okay, well, there's no hope at this point, or this is all our options, and then you saying to yourself that, no, I don't buy that. At the end of the day, I know that if I choose so, I see it so, that my body can heal from any ailment. I think it's all a byproduct of the mind. We've spoken about it too before, because I love Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton. They talk seriously, on the levels of consciousness and your ability of your mind affecting your physiology. That means everything to me. So I took so much from that, that podcast that y'all had together of his story was monumental. To sit back and be like, I know I should be preaching this more and talking to more people about it. It's like, it's your life. At the end of the day, it's like, why wouldn't you take it more serious? I feel like if people invested 10% more into themselves, good Lord, they'd make some drastic changes.
Well, I think what may be behind that for so many people, at least in North America, is that we put too much faith and trust in Western medicine and the doctors. Mm-hmm. And we just trust that what they say is the truth and the only truth, without understanding that there is so many more choices available above and beyond what one doctor may say is the right treatment for you. The fact that I know people that don't even think about going for second and third opinions on something as major as cancer, because each oncologist for the same diagnosis may and will have a different treatment plan that they are suggesting. I went through that with my ex-father-in-law, who had a very aggressive form of small cell lung cancer from smoking 2 packs plus a day. And each doctor we went to had a totally different strategy. And one of the doctor's strategies was not to even do any treatment, just let him go. Wow. And we ended up we went to 3 different doctors, ended up choosing one at a Swedish medical center that's affiliated up in Seattle with University of Washington. And that particular oncologist not only saved his life, not only did he not have any ramifications of permanent hearing loss and all the other side effects that they said would happen from the chemo and radiation, but he lived like, I think 7 or 8 years, and he should have been gone in like 13 months. And when he passed, he didn't even pass from cancer. Oh, really? And so I share that little story with you because part of our challenges is that so many of us we believe that doctors are as close to God as going to come. And we put all our faith into the doctors instead of putting some faith into our trust and our ability to do some research and get educated and seek answers, other solutions, other alternatives that may just be a hybrid. Mm-hmm. There's nothing with a hybrid. I also had suggested to you to watch the documentary called Heal. Yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance to check that one out yet.
No, not yet. It's in my queue. I can't wait to finally watch it.
That's a big one. That one, as I shared with you, when I watched Joe Dispenza's segment in that movie, mm-hmm. I saw that movie in November of 2017. And sometime between November of 2017 and July, I initiated the same strategy that Joe Dispenza did to heal his vertebrae that was broken. Yeah. That he opted not to have surgeries, and he healed himself in 11 weeks. Yeah. And I took his strategy and I adhered it to my own prognosis and diagnoses. And sometime between November and July, the bypass that was feeding the blood to my toes, to my hip, was 100% blocked. Yet the doctors were able to find that I had created a whole new network or a highway of flow, mm-hmm. Collateral vessels to fuel blood from my hip down to my toes. And it's not perfect. I'm not quite there yet. Right now my freeway is under construction. I'm at 70%. And, when my freeway is complete, I'll be at 100%.
Yes.
But, I credit Joe Dispenza. we lost service just for a moment here, but I was saying, um, I credit Joe Dispenza and Kelly Noonan Gores, who was the producer, the writer, who funded that Movie Heal documentary, for having such a huge impact in my healing process. Not only did they find that I've created an alternate freeway, I bypassed my bypass, but they also determined that I have created collateral vessels from my left main artery to my heart.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So I definitely encourage you to watch the Heal documentary. Oh, yes. And continue to aggressively seek as much knowledge that you can, not just relying on your medical team that you have at the local basis. And one other thing I want to share with you, Hobie, is that I think you heard it in the replay, that the show that Dwayne and I did. I had asked him what does he think was the biggest factor in him being alive today, 5 years post his diagnosis of prostate cancer, and it may be 5.5 years now. And he said, well, it basically takes 4 parts of self. We have to, the 4 pillars I mentioned earlier in tonight's show, we have to have the balance within ourselves. We have to clean up our emotional state. We have to clean up our mental state. We have to clean up our physical state. And we have to be spiritually aligned. And he said, if any one of those 4 were out of balance, and if he hadn't addressed them during the fight of his life, when he chose to opt out and not have surgery and not have chemo and not have radiation and go back home to St. Thomas and heal naturally, utilizing a water fast for 45 days and then going raw vegan, it wasn't just the nutritional changes he made. It was him detaching from work and just focusing on his healing process for, I think, over 6 months. And then also his spirituality and his relationship with the divine, as he described it. He said if one of those was out of whack, or if he ignored one and just kept his focus just on nutrition or just on one aspect, he wouldn't be alive today. And I have to tell you, I agree with his statement there, because I also know that if I hadn't put full court pressure and focus on all 4 of those for myself, you and I wouldn't be in the studio right here, right now. I would not be here. I would not be alive.
Yeah.
It's taken a commitment every single day for myself to take care of myself, as though it was the last day of my life.
That's right.
And whether this remains as a benign tumor, or the potential for it to progress into a much worse diagnosis, I believe you are the only one that has control over that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be up to you.
That's right. And it is a choice. All of this is a choice.
I believe what's happened to you, Hobie, is that you've gotten 2 signposts in the last 4 years. The divine has spoken to you. God has stepped forward and given you all you need. He's now, twice now, given you a major, significant health diagnosis. And it's what you do with it. He's like saying, come on, it's time. You got to step in, and you got to work on whatever it is.
Yep.
That's holding you back, that's putting you in this very, very vulnerable situation from a medical perspective. So I'm going to ask you right here, right now, are you ready? Are you here? Are you ready to take back your life?
Yes. It's been long overdue. I always said 33 was going to be my breakout year age. That number means everything to me, and it's been an eye opener of everything. being authentic. That's what it all boiled down to. That cycle of things, to walk out of it, is to be authentic, being yourself. And nobody can take that away from me.
You know what I've learned, Hobie, is that when we're willing to show up for ourselves, and we have a major medical, as you have right now, when we show up, other people will show up in our life too. But it's part of what we have to do is filter out. We have to be so vigilant in filtering out toxic people, places, and things, that part of the environment is the environmental component of disease, and part of the environment are people, and it is the places, and it is the things. And so part of it is learning how to hone in and up-leveling your filter, your ability to be a really good listener, and hone in on your mindfulness, your consciousness, and your awareness, and make the best choices for yourself. Treat this like it's do or die, and weed out the weeds that are impacting your life in a negative way, just for today. It doesn't mean it's forever, but just for today, Hobie. And it's really up to you. Because, you know, we could hopefully have another show in a year from now, and you could be sitting with me, and we could be celebrating some significant, great news. But it can go the other way too. And it's not up to the doctors. It's not up to their treatment plan. It's up to how badly do you want to live. Because it's now. And so this is, I know I'm speaking some really strong words right now, but I'm just being real. I'm being raw. I'm being vulnerable. I'm just speaking my truth. Because you see, I have two friends. One of them made it. One of them's alive today, and the other one didn't. The other one was a guest on my show, but more importantly, he was one of my dearest friends. And he passed on Thanksgiving this year. And so, Hobie, what I offered to you just a couple of days ago, I asked you if you're willing to do some work with me. And I know that right now you're in some financial challenges because of your current circumstances, and I have such tremendous empathy for you. But I've offered to do some work with you, complimentary work, you know, just you and I doing some work together, and seeing if there's some things that we can uncover together and work on to help you in this healing process, so that you could free yourself of whatever it is that's put you in this circumstance for the second time in 4 years. And so I ask you, are you willing to accept?
Yes, Jay, I do. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so when we get off air, whether you and I talk tonight, or you let me know in the next couple of days, you let me know when you want to start, and let's get going. Let's get busy. I'll hold your hand through the process, and let's just do the work together.
That sounds amazing, Jay. I'm definitely all in. All hands on deck.
We are just about out of time, Hobie. I'd like to invite you maybe to just recap or just summarize how you're feeling in this moment, and maybe any parting words of inspiration that maybe you could share with someone that is listening live or on replay that maybe needs to hear something that you have to say tonight. And then we'll close the show out.
Our message to people is, you know, through my story and everything, that you are all co-creators of your reality. No matter what you're going through, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. You know, thinking positive, but taking action on the things that you so desire. We all desire something more in our lives, but we're not going after it. Take a little time and start focusing that energy there, and watch how things start to present themselves to you. The randomness and the synchronicities of the universe, they get louder and louder the more aware you become of yourself. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, no matter how traumatic or hard life can be on you or kick you when you're down. Don't ever look at it that way, and always take the best lesson, the silver lining in every situation. That's going to bring you places quickly.
Hobie, I lost you. I see you, but I'm not hearing you.
Hey, you can hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's my summary for everybody, is that we have way more power than we allow ourselves to think. And it's kind of sad, I wish I would have known this a lot sooner too, and we all do. If I could save somebody the anguish of jumping down the rabbit hole and just, make a shortcut to freeing yourself, we all have that ability to do it. And usually it can just be as simply as saying no. Like, I want it to stop. I want this cycle to stop. I want all this to stop. And it's going to get out your way. It will.
I lost you again, Hobie.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay.
So the universe always wants to deliver everything to you. It's supposed to be effortless. So where we turn our mind's attention to is exactly what we project and what we get back. So that's critical to me. The people in my life that weren't so awoken, I lead by example. I just always preach and talk on this level that I'm at now. And then you start hearing your friends or these people that you've known, they start speaking like it too. And then they're fussing their friends saying, hey, watch what you say, watch where your mind's at. And that's a beautiful thing to see the domino effect, the aura of, it's reciprocating. Who you are, that being is bouncing off all these other individuals. And it's powerful.
How does it feel for you right now after having spent just over an hour on the show? And how do you feel physically right now? What any sense of shift or change in yourself right now?
So I just feel calm. I'm glad I was able to get relaxed through this. This is not bad at all. It took me a little while, but I feel light. Like just this huge weight lifted off my shoulders by all means. And to do it in a state it's seamless, where I've healed from the emotional aspects of all that. Releasing this allows me to focus, fine tune the things that I'm trying to accomplish right now in my life. I get to get rid of all that other stuff.
Yeah, let it go. Release it. Yeah. Release it. All right. Anything else?
That's it, Jay.
Okay. Well, Hobie, again, I just want to honor you and thank you so much for showing up tonight and being present and being real and being raw. That's what this show is about. Real men, real talk, raw. And with that, I want to thank the guests that joined us in the community, that are here with us live, those that catch us on a replay. Please let us know where you're coming in from, what state or what country. We have a global reach today. We have guests, and we have people in our Facebook community that come in as far as South Africa, Bali, New Zealand, Sydney, Australia, London, England, India, Germany, all over the world. Thank God the internet was born, and we now are all connected soul to soul. The only thing that separates us is our lack of willingness to show up for ourselves. And when we show up as one, we all heal together. And that's what this is all about. I'm here for you and you're here for me. And I just honor you so much, Hobie. I thank you for joining us. Just a couple of side notes. If you could just stay in the studio just for a few moments. I know we've gone over, but I'd just like to just have a little bit of a kind of a private conversation shortly thereafter. But up until that moment, I'd like to thank all of you for joining me this evening and joining Hobie on this journey of authenticity, honesty, and just raw realness. And we'll catch you Friday evening. I got Frank coming in. Frank Lyford's going to be here in the studio. He's also, I'm going to have an opportunity to meet Frank in March. He's going to be at the Quantum Revolution Tour, which is going to be held live in Las Vegas. That's Jessica Ostrom and her team is going to be putting on an event, a 3-day retreat, and probably start talking a little bit more about that because I'm really excited to participate as someone in the community, just showing up to do some work for myself, to continue doing the healing work as part of my healing journey of my own mind, body, and soul. And so with that, thank you all for joining us this evening on Real Men, Real Talk, Raw. We'll see you Friday night. Have a beautiful evening and do some self-care tonight or tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and I love you all for being here. Take care. Bye-bye.